the middleman hadn't been there as long as you. They don't know who you are. You know, so is that going to work? You know what I mean? Like that model. You know, Ford, you know, industrial era, right? Ford can make any fool into a middle-class citizen. Take any fool. You know, people would come from out the sticks, you know, during that era to go work in the cities and for Ford and, you know, build the same car. You know, they just need somebody to be standing here and do this task. And those tasks got more complicated, but you didn't necessarily need to learn anything to do it. They would tell you what to do. You know, one of the things that we see a lot is those kind of jobs that'll earn you a middle-class living, they're gone or they're going away.
Yeah.
And they're not necessarily coming back. You get mad at the politicians, they can't make them come back. You know what I mean? Technology's replaced a lot of those jobs. You know, when it takes less and less people to make the same product and the profits go up to the top and make more billionaires than ever before, you know, it's not a good time to be thinking like employee is what I'm saying. So it's like maybe you can still go work for a company. I'm not anti-job, but you can go work for a company, but you need to think about what you're building for yourself, no matter what you do.
Right.
So anyway, I don't know what the question was, but that's the answer.
Well, let's cover some of your some of the stuff that I know about you because I forget. I don't even know how long I've known you. I want to say MySpace. Is it? Yeah, I was gonna say that.
The MySpace era, I call it.
Yeah. You and Michael known them as MySpace. And
I listened to your interview with him, and you were like, you didn't remember how you met him. You met him because of me, because we became friends first. And I met you because of Goldie. Goldie Gold in Atlanta. That whole crew or whatever, he was friends with you already. And I met like all these great artists in Atlanta. The MySpace era was very good to me. I went through chemical change during that time of my life. I learned a lot about, anecdotally, you know, not by educating myself on purpose, but just I learned a lot about networking and markets and things like that by the way that MySpace was when I started and how it evolved and what it meant. It taught me about how the internet, you know, people are always saying, you know, the internet changes everything and democratizes and everybody's throwing all this stuff around. I learned that from MySpace. As an artist, it made it where I believed that I could turn the things into my head into a career. You know, and I didn't have to find somebody to pick me and to hire me and promote me and put my, you know, give me a chance or whatever. I could reach customers. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of it. Go ahead. Because I started making comics already with Michael. We did GhostWerks started before all that. If it had started after that, you would have had to get an appointment to talk to me because we really were. So it was good because I already knew about making something and selling something and doing it the old way, where you have to, you know, buy 10,000 copies of something to get an affordable price, where you have to do like telemarketing to sell it, where you have to work your way through the system. So that when I was introduced to social media and stuff like that, I really have the big hungry eyes that a lot of people, when you tell them, well, why don't you try doing this? They're like, oh, I don't know. Because it's so accessible, like they don't appreciate it. And I totally look at social media and just the different kinds of business models that enable micro business like me or you in a totally different way than somebody that's native to it. Where they might be more comfortable in it, I see the benefit more than they do. But if we want to talk about like that, the career and stuff, we met on MySpace, but like I was already kind of been seeing myself as an entrepreneur already because of what I went through making my own comics. And Mike talked a little bit about Bob Lutke, Head Press, and he gave me my first published work. I'd already made comics that I technically published because I made copies of them, but I never been published by anyone else, and I never like kind of had someone else selling a comic that I made before. I worked on Max Damage Zero with Michael for Bob Lutke's Head Press, and the just kind of electric experience of having my work reproduced. Even when I'm not having success, I know I'm a comic book artist because I know what it feels like to have my work reproduced, and I don't get that feeling from anything else. So even when I'm not doing well or haven't been doing well or hadn't really had any success yet, I was like, nah, man. I remember I was drawing this comic one time, and the first time I made a photocopy, and I looked at and I made the photocopy and I reduced it down to the size that a comic book is. And I held it in my hand. I had the real page in one hand, and I had the reproduction in the other hand, and I was like, yeah, like it was just so. I mean, it was like being hit by lightning. I was like, well, I don't know. That being hit by lightning actually seems like it wouldn't be that fun. So never mind, forget that. But it seemed like really, really good, and just like this is who I am. So that was probably the first time I did that was probably in high school, and I still get that feeling when I see something, when I publish my stuff or anything like that. And I just really enjoy that. In college, I made friends with the other GhostWerks guys, and I think we were already kind of calling ourselves GhostWerks, before, because that was just kind of a name that came to me. And then Michael was like, "Look, we need to make something." And our first book was GhostWerks Comics #1, which is an anthology of stories to try and get a bunch of ideas in. And we printed we used a printer in San Antonio. So we printed, we drove down there and picked the books up, and we did San Diego Comic-Con. We did, and which is funny because we debuted the book at a convention here, Dallas Comic-Con. But then the next year, I think, we had another book, and we took both books to, I think by that time, we had two books. And both of us Mike and I were roommates by then, and we had our living room, we didn't have, a regular living room. We had 2 drawing tables, bookshelves with, comics and graphic novels. We did have a TV and video games because, and then the couch was in front of that. But it was really, revolved around the idea that this was it was a place to work. And that's what we did. I mean, we made comics, and we went to San Diego Comic-Con. At the time, we were both working as consultants for a consulting firm and doing, scribing that Mike told you about. And the cool thing about that is they let us, they had really good printers and stuff like that, and they let us print posters with our characters and stuff. So when we went to Comic-Con in San Diego, by the time we went, we had bought a big banner, and we were very good, between the 4 artists that we had, we could produce very professional looking anything. you know, as far as the design, the lettering, the drawing, immaculate.
Mm-hmm.
And we made like a giant banner that had the GhostWerks logo on it, and Champion of Children, which was our flagship kind of title, those characters on it. And then we actually, I think it was by mistake, we got a booth instead of getting an artist alley table. So when we got there, and the booth cost like $1,000, you know what I mean? It was ridiculous. And we were next to very like the Red Star, which was like the very hot Image comic at that time, and we were across the aisle from like the DC Comics like pavilion. So we were not in the kind of artist alley, you know, buried in that part of the con. We were at, and it was like we only had 2 books, but we had T-shirts. We had 2 T-shirts because by that time we had done 2 or 3 conventions. So we had 2 T-shirts, maybe 3, and we had probably about 12 posters that we made, because Champion of Children has like tons of, if you never read it, it has tons of characters. Like we would make up new characters like literally every day, because it's like basically little kid superheroes, and it was like we just would like knock ourselves out making up these characters, because our brains are full of hip hop and cartoons and comics and stuff. So, like, most of my friends are idea generators. Like, we could generate an idea for a hit comic, you know, it's easy. And so we had Champion of Children. It has an ensemble cast, and it also has, like, a lot of, like, almost every character in the book, the extras, they're all superheroes. You know what I mean? Like, characters in the background, and we'll draw this character in the background, and by the time, it's just a character at first, but by the time everybody's looked at it, they're like, oh, this character looks hard, he looks like blah, 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 and then we'll give them a name. You know, like, oh, yeah, Star Bernard, you know, or whatever, you know. Oh, yeah, that's Smash Boogie. You know, we would just give everybody, we would do, and so we made a bunch of posters, and we went, and we were like a huge hit. We made, you know, people at indie publishers, they never make the money back. We made back the money that we spent on the convention. We made back the money we spent on everything. Like, it was like, I was like, we've arrived, you know? And because we got a booth, and it was well, like the way we decorated it and all the merch that we had, people thought that we were a big deal. There's people that I meet, like, even now, who would be like, yeah, man, what happened? You know what I mean? Because people just assume that we were like going to be the next, you know, whatever, Image or something. Because if you're professional about stuff, you can make that kind of impact. And technology has only made that part of it easy. Because so many business models are built on making it easy for people in the kind of micro business or vanity press, even if you want to call it that, economy, to be able to make your own book, to be able to hire your own people to help you to do stuff that you need to do that you can't do yourself, to be able to market your book, to be able to find your market. I mean, like now in the social media era, and this is, again, what I learned on MySpace. I went on MySpace. I remember, I'm a hip-hopper, as you know, and I'm used to liking obscure, like, rappers that other people don't like, you know what I mean? And I before MySpace, I was like, I'm probably the only person. I'm never gonna meet other people who, and like me and my friends might like this person because I exposed them to it or they exposed me. But by the time I'm on MySpace for like a year, I could, you know, say in my interests, well, I like MF Doom. You know, a rapper that none of the people that I knew, you know, people would not have heard of. But then I go to bed, I wake up the next day, and I have 40 friends who like MF Doom. You know, and that's the thing. I mean, you know, I met a girl who liked the kind of music I like. Like, I thought that would never happen. You know what I mean? And so it's like, you know, and that's what social media is, just really powerful. Even you can accidentally aggregate a market. You know, and so one of the things that I learned when we were doing the GhostWerks books is how hard of a sell it was to sell comics to the lily white infrastructure of the comic book business, made by black people with black people in it, Like, they just didn't believe